So as a school teacher in my 20s who have consistently been able to save 50% of a salary in the past month, I want you to know that it is possible to save as much as you want to, okay? And so in today's video, I'm going to share with you what I'm doing that is helping me to save such an amount of money. And I hope that you leave this video with a new perspective that will help you be in a better financial position than you were before. Now, the first thing I did was to go back to the drawing board, okay? Because though I made a decent income, I did not have control over my finances. So I had to sit down and ask myself, how much money was I making in total? How much does it cost me to live every month? And am I even spending money on things that really mattered? As at the time I was asking myself these questions, girl, I had zero savings. So I constantly justified me not saving with the fact that my income was low. But then I also realized that I was only making excuses for my lack of financial discipline. Because if I wanted to, I will. And that was when I decided to go all in, okay? Because girl, there was a time in my life as a people teacher where I earned just a fraction of what I make today. But then back then I was able to manage and still save something. So the only thing that was preventing me from doing it this time around was my own financial indiscipline. And girl, so many of us make decent income that we could actually save on, okay? But because we have no clarity on how our money is actually spent, we lose control even before our paycheck comes in. The next thing I'm doing is cutting down expenses drastically, okay? So at the time I made this decision, I was on the verge of moving to a different apartment in a different neighborhood, okay, that I considered a bit flashy and bougie. But then I decided to stay here because the rent here is only 300 cedis monthly, and the good thing is that I don't even get to take car to work, okay? And so by not moving and staying here, I save myself transport, and then I get to pay just a fraction of what I would have paid if I had gone to that other apartment. And I also switched from bottle to sachet water because a pack of bottled water can get me 3 packs of sachet water, and that 3 packs can last up to about 3 weeks. Meanwhile, just a pack of bottled water finishes within the week. You understand? And so I'm not telling you to go and buy some suspicious sachet water. No. Buy good sachet water. Do you understand? Because I feel like the moment you train yourself to start drinking bottled water, girl, you are dead. You are dead. You cannot go back, okay? But then I got myself to get out of it, so you can do it too. Another thing I started doing to cut down expenses drastically was cooking at home. So I used to eat out a lot, and girl, that was not only expensive, but it ended up draining my gut, okay? I got serious gut issues, and I had to go to the hospital so many times. I spent so much money, and so cooking right now is not even just saving me money, it is saving my health. I still eat out once in a while, but then I do it cautiously. Next thing I'm doing is holding myself accountable. Girl, saving money is like any other goal, okay? And to achieve that goal, you have to have a commitment mindset. You have to be intentional and constantly remember your goal. Do you understand? If the goal is for you to save enough to put a down payment on a house, then girl, that goal is worth, okay? It's what you delaying your need and your desire to constantly gratify yourself. And in my case, I wanted to start investing in assets because I want to become financially free. And there was no way I was going to be able to do that if I continued living the way I was living. Now, I sometimes get tempted and then I tell myself that, oh, I still don't have to save. It's just an option. But then that means that I'm going to work forever, okay? And anytime I feel like not putting my savings where it's supposed to be, I only have to close my eyes and look at myself, imagine myself begging relatives to bail me out anytime I get an emergency. And because that's not the reality I want for myself, I'm going to force myself to put the savings where it's supposed to be. All your current self wants is to instantly gratify herself, okay? Your current self does not need that savings, but your future self would want you to do that, okay? It's all about the mindset that you put behind it. Next step is to treat your savings like a bill. Girl, aside my fixed and variable expenses, I have another bill, aka savings, and I make sure that is the first bill I pay, okay? Because I have a separate savings account, and so the moment my salary hits, that is the first thing I do. I transfer my savings to that place because, girl, you know, if I keep that money, there was no way I was going to put it there. I was just going to borrow it and never return it. I would be stealing from my future self. And the more reason why I don't want to keep my savings with my checking money is because I don't want to torture myself, okay? Because there's this temptation of seeing the money, not being able to spend it, reminiscing, thinking, your mind going wild. Do you understand? That is why you have to make it inaccessible. Put a boundary between what is meant for saving and what's meant for spending. And I feel like the reason why this is easy for me to do is because I don't combine my monies. The next thing I do is to stock up on necessities. Okay, girl, it's one thing to be able to save and another thing to be able to keep the money in the savings account, but you cannot do that if you keep running out of necessities like food by mid-month. And even when I wasn't saving, there were times in the month where I ran out of food, water, and I had to go to my bank for a salary advance, which led me into a deep hole of living paycheck to paycheck. And that's the whole story of it all, okay? And it took me a lot of discipline for me to break away from that behavior. Anytime you make your budget, ask yourself, have I made enough provisions for survival? We all know that you can live without fancy makeup, but you cannot live without food. For me, I know some of you can fast, some of you can fart, but for me, I cannot do a day without food. I know myself. I love food, okay? So I make sure that I make provision for it so that I don't go back into my savings. I always make sure that I leave something for fun, but then I do that after I make sure that my food, utility, and shelter is covered. So that is a girl. If you put this into practice, you will be on your way to saving any amount of money that you want. God be a help. Thank you for watching, and to see you next time. Take care of yourself.